Hello and welcome to the second interview of the day with our Thought Leaders series. We have a very special guest from honestly, personally, I feel one of our best CROs in Dubai Healthcare City. Wonderful team, wonderful people to deal with, extremely professional, always on time. We have Dr.Alaa Assem, who is the Managing Director of CleanArt Middle East and Africa. Dr. Alaa, welcome.
Thank you.
Dr. Alaa Assem has worked in the pharmaceutical industry for over 30 years across several leading multinational organizations in the Middle East and North Africa, including Sandoz, Lilly, Wyeth, and Pfizer, in different roles and capacities, including sales, marketing, medical affairs, clinical research, regulatory, compliance, and government affairs. As the Managing Director of CleanArt, Dr. Assem brings an extensive and very rich experience in clinical research and government affairs, managing clinical trials across the region in accordance with the highest international standards. Dr. Alaa and I today will be talking about opportunities for research in the UAE and the Middle East and Africa region. Dr. Alaa, a pleasure to have you with us.
It's our pleasure. Thank you for hosting us.
If you can please introduce our audience to CleanArt, what you do, how long you've been here in the region.
Okay, I mean, CleanArt is a full-service contract research organization. It's one of the first CROs to be established in the Gulf region in Dubai. The company started in Dubai more than 20 years ago, actually, as a very small company in Dubai, but then started growing.
Yes.
We were hosted at the Dubai Healthcare City since 2008. So again, one of the very early companies and CROs operating in the region, and started expanding since then across the Middle East Africa region. So with offices in Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Lebanon, and also covering now from Morocco to Pakistan, Turkey to South Africa. So we do have projects spanning across the region, and our main office, our headquarters is Dubai. We have been supported along the way by also investments or investors from the region. And recently, as of last year, August 2020, the company was also acquired by a global US CRO, CTI, which is based in the US but have operations in many parts of the world. And now they have Middle East Africa as part of their operation, represented by CleanArt. And actually, that's a great opportunity for CleanArt and also for the region, because that gives opportunities now that we can participate in more global studies that are managed by CTI in other regions to bring it to the region. And that was really a strategic objective that we have worked towards from the beginning, is really how to grow a regional high-quality CRO in the Middle East and Africa region, and then strategically partner with a global player to be able to attract more studies to the region.
And there's definitely been a shift in the investments in infrastructure and building capabilities in the region and in the UAE.
Sure.
What do you think is the driver behind that?
I think there is the opportunity. Middle East Africa region has not been, I'm talking about research, has not really been taking its fair share of the global studies and global clinical development or drug development. And I think we came a little bit late, and but now I think in the last, I would say, 10 years, we started seeing an increasing interest in the region. And actually, the fact that now there are more CROs coming to the region, the fact that a global company like CTI was willing to invest and acquire a company in the Middle East Africa, that in itself is a recognition that there is opportunities here. We're still not at the full potential or the true potential of the region, but and definitely there is a lot of ways to go. And again, when I talk about the region, it's not all at the same level yet. We're talking about UAE, then the Gulf region, and then the other Middle East Africa countries.
Different maturity levels in the markets.
But the opportunity is great for all the countries. Maybe some countries are ahead in terms of infrastructure, regulations, and others are still trying to catch up. And I have to say, UAE has been on the lead and trying and always been looking to be
it's definitely
an
part of the
innovative
UAE vision and
yes.
its leaders to grow research, foster it, encourage investments in research as well.
Yes.
Yes.
It has to start from there. Actually, it has always to start
Yes.
from the top, that this is really part of the vision of the country, that it actually cascades down into all the different
100%.
authorities.
And so, like we said, there's definitely interest from the leadership. Have you sensed also that there is increased awareness among the population? They are more aware of what a clinical trial is, the benefits. There's always been some kind of hesitation to participate, or some sort of distrust maybe about sharing their information or sharing their even thoughts about certain subjects.
Okay.
So
I've been in this industry for a very long time.
Yes.
I mean, I think 30 years, and definitely there has been a great major shift at all levels, at authorities, government, healthcare professionals, and at the public levels. I mean, about clinical trials and participation in clinical trials. So definitely there is more awareness, more willingness. Still, of course, I mean, it's not, again, I mean, it varies at different levels because it depends. But now with the internet, with access to information, we've seen even people traveling from the region previously to go and participate in a clinical trial abroad. Now, as we bring these studies here, there is even no need for them to travel. So it is increasing. The awareness level is increasing, and also now as well with the more regulations in the countries, that's also giving more confidence and more trust, and the healthcare professionals as well, training, because I mean, you can have a very good physician, but a researcher requires certain capabilities, and his ability to explain to the patients or to the participant their rights, and their having established ethics review boards. All this process gives confidence and safety to the patients.
Yes.
But again, you still, of course, I mean, we still need to do more. I mean, but we are on the right track, and I think now we don't see the challenges that we used to have in the past.
Yes.
Access to information is available now, and I say the experience with the last experience with the COVID has been definitely a challenge for the whole world, and
but there were some blessings in disguise as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the blessings of COVID, it increased significantly the awareness about the importance of clinical trials and research. Everybody in the street talking about, you know, the studies that were done, which is better, and people who really started reading.
It became part of the
maybe too much
conversation.
too much media information, not too much scientific, but eventually at the end of the day, definitely it increases. And we have seen as well a demonstration in the UAE with the For Humanity study, which was done. I mean, again, these were healthy volunteers who volunteered to participate in a study for a vaccine. Again, maybe that's few years back would have been very difficult, and that shows I think that should also encourage people moving forward to do more of this type of study. I hope it's not just one because of the epidemic, but I think it will continue with other disease areas, because definitely it's not only COVID. I mean, we have many other areas where we need.
So, okay, like you said, you have more than 30 years, mashallah, experience in this field. If you can give us the recipe, let's say for the UAE to attract more high caliber research, international studies to the UAE and to Dubai, what can we say is the secret
I think
formula?
we need to. It's like anything. I mean, the global programs or studies are mostly done by big international organizations, and pharmaceutical development is mainly done primarily in different countries, like in US or in Europe. And countries are competing to, again, so it's the countries needs to present its case. It's like really building a marketing case. What do we need? Do we have the infrastructure and the capabilities in the country? Yes. Probably the people don't know much yet about it, that we do have the infrastructure, that we do have the capabilities.
Yes.
And the regulations. What is critical to bring the study to the region? First, the regulatory environment, the regulations, to be competitive in terms of review approval timelines, protection of patients, of course, and logistics, because of course when you're dealing with drugs, and now there is a lot of special consideration when you talk about new drugs like gene cell therapy, which requires special handling, special transportation.
Yes.
So logistics is very important.
And
then
gaining more and more popularity in the UAE. Yes.
Yes, and definitely this is the future again. You need to build the infrastructure for that. So that would help to bring studies to the region.
Yes.
Having trained sites and research staff. Again, you can have a very good hospital, but they do not have dedicated research staff. Okay?
Agreed. It makes a huge difference, even from a administrative side when we deal with them from a regulatory perspective.
Because
having a specific person to deal with just makes life easier.
Makes everybody's life easier, and the study team, the PIs or the principal investigators usually have time to see the patients, but there is a lot of administrative work around clinical trials, and usually they need support. If they don't have a dedicated support, it's very hard to take time of their clinical time with the patients
100%.
And dedicate to. So you need dedicated staff, and that's what a lot of sites are recognizing, that we need to allocate staff dedicated to research, supporting the teams in the to conclude the studies. All this help us to be able to convince sponsors to participate in studies, because they look at different countries. We do have patient population, and I think this is the main point. We do have the patient population, and even in special areas there are even disease prevalence. Unfortunately, there are higher prevalence of some disease areas in the region more than others, like genetic disease,
non-communicable diseases,
or more prevalent. So that's an attraction, but they need to ensure that there are all the other factors are there, the regulatory environment, the infrastructure, to be able to get more studies. And then it's the awareness. More publication out of the region helps the world outside to see what type of work is coming out of these. Unfortunately, we have not been that good in publishing the work internationally of what we do. We need, of course, we are doing, but we need to do more. And again, with COVID, there has been a massive increase in publication, which is great. So I think we are on the track. We will need to continue, and it's a joint effort. Our role as well is to bring studies as well to the region.
100%.
That's what we do.
Yes, exactly. What are your thoughts on real-world evidence and the future of data in the region, and just the direction that we're going?
When we talk about research, there are different aspects. We were talking about clinical trials. And clinical trials, we mean usually the early phase clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, which is in the drug development until the drug is approved. Then there is another category of
that maybe
of
not
trials.
A lot of people are aware of,
which is the real-world evidence, what we call now RWE, or real-world evidence, or non-interventional clinical research, or post-marketing clinical research. And again, under this, there is so many types. Part of it is, some of it is actually part of the obligation when you get a drug approved, that you do post-marketing surveillance for safety to confirm. Because again, when the drug is tested in clinical research, it's a very controlled setting. It doesn't give you the real life, and that's why they call it real world, because then when you're using it, you might get out either safety concerns that you were not able to see during the study, interactions with other drugs, with other disease, and also sometimes
or even
benefits.
New indications.
New benefits. Which is, so again, it's not only for a safety concern, but a lot of people found new uses for drugs. But just using them or monitoring to monitor compliance. Now there is also the economic health outcomes, benefits. How is the drug, when you compare new treatments versus existing treatment, you need to monitor the patients and see, does it reduce hospitalization? What is the cost? Does it reduce treatment days, absence days? So there is also a lot of other benefits of monitoring patients after the drug is in the market. And that's why the real RWE studies or research is very also critical. It's a different from the early phase clinical trials. But it's also, now with the data, big data and data analytics, access to data, this can be even made more easy. If there is, you can extract large, when you have the systems in your infrastructure, and the hospitals are all connected, and you have a central, then you can extract data and analyze. Which is one of the projects
that UAE is working on right now.
And so this is all falls into the same picture, that you're actually looking at how to utilize this to serve
Yes.
better the patients and the outcome. You identify the response to the treatments, who is benefiting and who is not benefiting.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, now with this access to big data, you can do all these analytics and get out these data on a larger scale rather than doing it previously on a very
Yes.
small scale. Now you can do it on a population-based
Yes.
or, I mean, a city or a sector.
And even regulations and national policies are moving towards maybe being a bit more lenient with the
Yes.
use of data.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
the
there is a big,
dissemination
of course, I mean, data protection, privacy, but also there are ways to protect the patient rights and
Maintain
also the
anonymity,
privacy,
yes.
anonymity, and yeah, I think the UAE again, I mean, has been on the lead overall in terms of adopting these guidelines and international guidelines, and to really make this possible.
Yes.
Because, and that's what I'm saying, regulatory environment and
It's
the
a strike a balance.
is actually, it is
Yes.
the main point, to provide the protection, but allow you as well to be able
Research
to
and advancement and investment.
to advance
yes.
and do the research, because sometimes regulations are restrictive, that they, you know, that they restrict the ability to do the research in some countries. And, you know, I mean, fortunately, the UAE is really open to adopting all the new
Exactly.
guidelines, and
Exactly.
looking forward to really doing more of the work in the UAE and the other Gulf countries and the region as a whole. I mean,
Inshallah. So what can we anticipate from CleanArt next? What are your next projects on the horizon?
we are, I mean, definitely now as being part of CTI, I mean, we are actually looking how can we attract more studies of what they do in primarily where the region was not typically considered initially, but now we are looking at those opportunities. What
Yes.
are the disease areas that really where patients could benefit from these studies, and try to talk to them and convince them
Yes.
to bring those studies to the region and show the capabilities of the region to their partners and sponsors.
Yes.
And we've managed, I mean, within the 6 months actually to bring 2 large studies, even in an early phase in gene cell therapy, and also in RWE studies.
We have,
So
I think, in the Dubai City right now, 4 early phase clinical trials taking
Yes.
place at different sites.
Yes,
And,
and,
this definitely maybe happened over the last 3 years only.
yes, that was,
Yes.
I mean, maybe 5-10 years that was not possible.
Yes,
Now
yes,
we
yes.
actually, that's a very great step, because, I mean, early participation, that's the real, you know, where you really add benefit, especially also in when you're talking about special patient populations where
Exactly.
sometimes there
Being
isn't really a lot
represented
of
at
as
least.
well. Some patients also do not have access to a current treatment, or when you talk about a rare disease, for example,
True.
where there is no
Yes,
treatment, and
yes.
now there is a study where maybe they will be able to benefit, and I
Yes.
think that's something
would be
is
wonderful.
of definitely. So we feel pride if you bring such studies that you're actually helping as well patients. And so, I mean, we're working on bringing more, selling more the region, but also expanding within the region, not only, I mean, in the UAE. I think our plans now is really to expand into other countries in North Africa, Central, West Africa, because again, I mean, that we are able to have more countries from the region represented in the global database,
Yes.
and having data published out of the region. And there is a lot of joint work as well among countries, I mean, where there is societies or in
Yes.
special areas like oncology or rare genetic disease, and areas where they collaborate together. So collaborative work is very important as well
Of
among
course.
sites.
Yes.
So that's what we're really trying to do. So, I mean, we have expansion plans, and we're also looking forward to bring more work, but also working with our partners in the region. And part of it as well is supporting sites here in building capacity, training, because part of what we do as well is training and
Yes.
supporting sites in terms of, so we've collaborated with several institutions and even some of the ministries of health in the region in providing either capacity building for, I mean, ethics committee review boards, development of procedures, training for PIs or investigators. So that's something as well we will continue to do, because we believe it's essential and part
And
of...
if anyone's interested, all information would be on your website, of course.
Yes, definitely,
Yes.
and or can reach out to us, and definitely we'll be glad to support, work with the Dubai Healthcare City, and the UAE in general, I mean, in
Wonderful.
different regions. I mean,
Looking forward to all the amazing things to come. Thank you so much, Dr. Alaa.
it's our
for joining
pleasure.
us
Thank you
today.
for hosting us today, and
pleasure.
looking forward to future events and
Inshallah,
collaborations.
inshallah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Please come join us again in a couple of hours with Dr. Ammar Al-Banna. See you.